Proudly broadcasting from the Richard Philip Cavallaro studio.
WRHU.
Hempstead.
You discovered.
A cornerstone of the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication.
WRHU.
Now, Long Island's largest radio news team brings you the Associated Press award-winning program, Newsline.
Coming up on Newsline, Monday, November 18th, 2024.
Biden takes a trip down to the Amazon rainforest.
More updates on the second Trump cabinet.
Trump's picks for Secretary of Defense faces sexual assault allegations.
And an interview about Trump's cabinet picks and comparison to his first presidential transition.
In business news, Spirit Airlines files for bankruptcy, new safety changes are coming to vehicles, and we'll take a look at why Tropicana is plummeting in sales. I'm Kenny Foreman, and I'll have all that and more later in the broadcast.
In entertainment tonight, updates on Sean Diddy Combs and a news story about Whoopi Goldberg. I'm Ricky Huber, and I'll have all that and more for you later in the broadcast.
The New York Islanders take on the Calgary Flames, Hofstra men's basketball plays Florida State, and men's soccer advances to the NCAA tournament. I'm Julian Amonte, and I'll have all that and more coming up next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Matt Fisher.
And I'm Cameron Bowden. We begin tonight's broadcast in Brazil. That was the sound of President Joe Biden boarding a Marine One helicopter in Brazil before flying over the Amazon rainforest. Biden became the first sitting U.S. president in history to visit the Amazon rainforest on a trip to reaffirm the current administration's efforts surrounding climate change and climate preservation. In his address among the dense forest greenery, Biden called on future generations to continue working to protect wildlife, especially in the Amazon.
We don't have to choose between the environment and the economy. We can do both. We've proven it back home. It's no secret that I'm leaving office in January. I will leave my successor and my country a strong foundation to build on if they choose to do so.
He continued by emphasizing that climate action is not just a domestic issue, it's something that economies and nations around the world need to focus on. Biden also took the time to address that U.S. climate policy will likely change with his successor, President-elect Donald Trump. In this visit, Biden referred to Trump more than any other time on his South American tour.
Since winning the 2024 presidential election, President-elect Donald Trump is continuing to add members to his administration. Last week, the president-elect named Caroline Leavitt to serve as his White House press secretary. The 29-year-old is making history as she is the youngest person ever selected for the position. In addition to Leavitt, throughout the last few weeks, Trump has made multiple other picks, including his former campaign director, Susie Wiles, to head as chief of staff, New York Representative Elise Stefanik as the ambassador to the United Nations, and his former aide, Stephen Miller, as the deputy chief of policy. Additionally, the president-elect selected Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, a decision stirring controversy among Democratic legislators.
The fact that we're considering to bring somebody on with no scientific or medical credentials, who's falsely claimed for decades that vaccines cause autism, who has, quite frankly, said just outrageous comments about science and medicine, that this person would come in to gut the NIH, I think is shameful.
That was California Representative Robert Garcia during a House of Representatives hearing. Trump is still yet to nominate around half his cabinet members for his second term as president.
An attorney for Fox News host Pete Hegseth, President-elect Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, confirms that a financial payment was made to a woman who 7 years ago accused Hegseth of sexual assault. But Timothy Parlatore, his lawyer, claims the undisclosed amount was part of a confidential settlement to avoid a lawsuit that could have led to his client being fired from Fox News then. Hegseth denies any and all accusations of sexual misconduct, and Parlatore on Sunday told the Associated Press that the woman, identified only as Jane Doe, was, quote, the aggressor, but did not provide publicly any evidence. In a statement, he said false claims like this undermine the gravity of real sexual assault cases. The city of Monterey says police investigated a case of alleged sexual assault at a local hotel in October of 2017, but did not name individuals involved, and said a victim was bruised at her right thigh and no charges were filed. Hegseth is one of two Trump cabinet picks who have been accused of sexual misconduct. The other is Matt Gaetz, Trump's pick for Attorney General.
On the topic of presidential appointments, we now go to an interview WRHU Cameron Bowden conducted with Professor Mina Bose, the director of Hofstra's Peter S. Calico Center for the Study of the American Presidency, about Trump's current cabinet and how these decisions compare to his first transition in 2016 to 2017.
Well, without a doubt, President-elect Trump is moving very quickly with his nominations for cabinet departments. I think he's done about half of the 15 cabinet nominations, and then there are another 10 or so Senate confirmed cabinet positions. And he's made a bunch of those appointments as well, nominations as well. He's also appointed members of his White House staff, and those are positions that do not require Senate confirmation. So I think it's very clear that we've seen since about 2 days after the election, when he first announced his chief of staff, that President-elect Trump, he wants to put his people in place, and that I think loyalty to him and to his policy agenda are kind of the primary criteria. Expertise does not appear to be one of the criteria, a policy expertise in the subject area for cabinet departments in particular.
When it comes to, Trump's picks currently, how does this compare to where he was in his first presidential transition back in 2016 to 2017?
Yeah, that's a good question. And when you look back at that, it wasn't as swift. Of course, the 2016 election results were very surprising. But at any rate, it took some time, I think, to put together the lists. And what you did see there, I think, while there was a desire from Donald Trump in 2016-17 to bring in people who were outside of government, the Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, getting special approval for General Mathis to be defense secretary. There was some, I guess I would say in 2016-17, some desire to maybe take advice from others as to who might be better suited to be outside voices. And these weren't without controversy. There were a number of people. The first labor secretary nominee had to step down. There were questions about, I think, employees, some allegations in personal divorce settlement and so on. So there were questions of, I think, also of management. That was for Andy Puzder. There were other issues as well about conflicts of interest but I would say there was still an effort in what's now the first Trump presidency, to try to get a range of perspectives. At this point in time, it seems pretty clear for Trump too that Donald Trump knows what he wants, and he's served as president for 4 years. I think very little patience with kind of the way government functions, and a determination to really put his stamp on his White House office, which every president-elect does, but also on the cabinet.
Now, when it comes to this upcoming administration, you've already expressed sort of how unorthodox it is necessarily to have some of these picks that historically are more along loyalty lines as opposed to actual expertise in the area that they're going to be working under. What are your expectations going forward for other, more unorthodox positions? Or how do you think, that will impact Trump's policy going into 2025?
That's a great question. I think we're going to see more of the same, in that I think that Trump, too, is very much, I think, focused on kind of upending Washington, avoiding, not kind of rejecting business as usual, and to try to bring in people who can shake up agencies and department and bring new voices. And on the surface, that actually sounds in some ways not like a bad idea. It's important to get other perspectives. It's important to get outside of a kind of a long established position and get outside opinions. That said, running a cabinet department requires really deep management skills, and to be able to make changes requires understanding how an agency works. And so I think that some of these appointments may actually find that it's difficult to make change, and you need people with kind of some deep knowledge, or an ability to bring in people with that deep knowledge if they don't have that themselves, but have other types of leadership expertise that recommend them. And I would not be at all surprised to see more of the same with, say, education, right, for example, or I guess labor, right? Treasury is being interviewed right now, agriculture. I wouldn't be surprised to see the same types of nominations. I couldn't predict who they would be. I think if we learned anything with Donald Trump, it is risky to make predictions.
Predict the unpredictable, right?
Right.
Thank you again to Professor Mina Bose for that interview.
Today, White House officials say that following the brutal storm season, President Joe Biden will send an emergency funding bill to address the urgent need for disaster relief throughout the country. According to the memo, several agencies say they are running low on funds following the recent back-to-back major hurricanes. The director of the Office of Management and Budget, Shalata Young, says, quote, "The Biden-Harris administration stands ready to work with lawmakers to deliver the vital resources our communities need, with strong bipartisan and bicameral support, just as Speaker Mike Johnson has promised." However, doubts arise as past attempts to secure such funding, including outreach as recent as June, have failed. Regardless of doubts, the heads of several departments, including the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Transportation, and Department of Agriculture, have written letters to Congress expressing their needs for funding.
An E. coli outbreak has left one person dead and dozens sick after consuming contaminated carrots. According to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, in 18 states, 39 people were infected and 15 were hospitalized after consuming carrots from Grimway Farms. The Bakersfield, California-based company recalled the carrots that were sold in bags under multiple brand names, including 365, Trader Joe's, Wegmans, among many others. According to the CDC, most of those infected live in New York, Minnesota, and Washington, followed by California and Oregon. The carrots are no longer sold in stores. However, customers are warned not to eat recalled bags and dispose of any who fit the description.
Coming up after your Newsline specialty report with Kenny Foreman, congestion pricing is back on the table for New York City. The Jennings Creek wildfire is further contained, and the Fire Department of New York creates a new brush fire task force. But first, your Newsline traffic and weather update with Jackson Warren. WRHU News Time is 5:41.
Newsline. Up to the minute local traffic.
As the sun dies down this afternoon, the weather outside is mostly cloudy with a mild breeze of 65 degrees and a wind gust of 27 miles per hour. Later on tonight, the skies will be clear, still maintaining a wind gust of 27 miles per hour with the temperatures dropping down to a low of 44 degrees. For tomorrow morning, the skies will be clear and sunny with a high of 58 degrees and a wind gust of 15 miles per hour. So make sure to dress warm for tomorrow morning. For the rest of the week, it's going to be a mixture of sunshine and rain with highs that could reach up to 60 degrees and lows that could drop down to 39 degrees. But if I was you, I will double check with your weather app for updates. If you're traveling on the road today, make sure to look out for these delays. On I-95 northbound, there is a crash blocking off 2 lanes just before exit 5A. Expect a 30-minute delay. On Garden State Parkway southbound, there's a car on fire that is blocking the right lane just before exit 114. Expect a 20-minute delay. I'm Jackson Warren, and stay tuned for my second traffic update later on this broadcast.
Newsline. Business news.
Spirit Airlines has filed for bankruptcy as they continue to struggle to make profits and compete with other airlines. Since 2020, Spirit has seen a decrease in $2.5 billion and have racked up north of $1 billion in debt, which they would have to pay off over the course of the next 2 years. Bondholders have invested $350 million in equity, and $795 million of Spirit's debt will be allocated towards stock into the company, in addition to $300 million of assistance from bondholders. Spirit shares fell 25% following the initial reports of bankruptcy on Friday. In the meantime, customers can still travel and use frequent flyer points. Payments for employees will be unaffected. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has announced that new criteria will contribute to future vehicle crash ratings. This is meant to align with the fact that beginning with the 2026 model year, regulators are set to add new technology that will help drivers in efforts to keep pedestrians safe. Congress required these changes to be made according to the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was put into effect in 2021. 4 new technologies are set to be added. This includes blind spot warnings and automatic emergency braking. Additionally, test procedures will be improved for aspects that have already been implemented in the vehicles, such as cars that are equipped with the automatic braking. Although the 5-star ratings will not change, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says car buyers will be able to see what safety features the vehicles are equipped with prior to making a purchase. Tropicana sales have taken a hit after the fruit-flavored drink company decided to make a change to the design of its orange juice bottles. Tropicana's orange juice was known for its clear plastic bottles. In recent months, however, the company decided to make a switch from 52 to 46-ounce bottles, and the label was redesigned to connect with the shape of the bottle. After the changes were made, Tropicana sales fell 8.3% from a year ago back in July. That drop increased to 10.9% in August and 19% in October. Meanwhile, orange juice enjoyers have taken their frustrations to social media as they are concerned they will have to pay the same amount for less juice. This is not the first time that Tropicana has been in the headlines for a branding adjustment, as many were caught off guard following a logo change in 2009. With your Newsline Business Report, I'm Kenny Foreman, WRHU.
WRHU News Time is 5:45. Thank you, Jackson Warren and Kenny Foreman, for those reports. The MTA board is set to vote on New York Governor Kathy Hochul's new tolling plan later today. Under this plan, most drivers can enter Midtown provided they pay $9. This is a decrease from the existing toll, which is from the proposed $15. Here's Hochul announcing the revived plan just a couple days ago. Sound from CBS.
From day one, I have made affordability for New York families a top priority. I always have, and I always will, fight to put more money in the pockets of everyday New Yorkers. As governor, it is my job to make decisions that take into account the needs of all working New Yorkers. So I made the decision to put the congestion pricing program on pause while we devise a different path forward.
Should the vote go through, changes will be expected to go into effect on January 5th. Hochul revived the tolling program last week after putting it on hold back in June.
Over the weekend, a fire along the New York-New Jersey border broke out as a result of a fire in Jennings Creek. Residents of approximately 165 homes evacuated, with a voluntary evacuation order in place, in effect through at least the end of today. The fire also took the life of an 18-year-old firefighter, Daniel Vasquez, who was killed during the effort to control the flames. Friends and family paid tribute to him in a funeral this morning. The fire is currently considered to be 90% contained.
The New York City Fire Department is launching a new task force to help fight the wildfires, coming after New York City saw brush fires across all 5 boroughs. The task force will include inspectors, tactical drone units, and fire marshals, according to FDNY Commissioner Robert Tucker. As part of the task force, the causes of each fire will be investigated, and work will be done to make sure future fires don't occur. Dry conditions over the course of the past month are believed to be the main cause of the uptick in fires, with the FDNY receiving calls for 271 of them.
Hofstra University conducted a fall town hall today, allowing students to speak to school administrators and Hofstra President Susan Poser about questions they had regarding the institution and its efforts. The Q&A session, which was moderated, allowed for students to ask questions about any area they wanted clarification on and to hear about the various things Hofstra is working on. WRHU's Dorcas Sumaro spoke to Hofstra University President Susan Poser about the event and to students about what they were hoping to see fixed. Poser said she was happy with today's town hall as it built a successful dialogue around those who attended Hofstra University.
Well, we are a community, and as I said, I and all the colleagues that I work with are here to ensure that the students have an excellent college and graduate or professional education. That is my job. I can't do my job if I don't hear from the students and I don't understand what they're feeling and what their experience is here at Hofstra. So it's very important to have these kinds of sessions. We probably ought to have more of them.
Poser also expressed that students were more than willing to reach out to her and other lead administrators with questions or concerns.
I'm very easy to find, and but even easier to find are the people in the areas like student affairs, like the provost's office, athletics, or those are the main ones that touch students, on a sort of daily basis. So, as I said, we're not mind readers. So we cannot help people who don't come to us because we don't know who they are. And there's no way to know who they are.
One student, Alicia Paracha, who spoke on behalf of the Student Voices for Palestine, said her and her organization is focused on the demonstration policy and the mask ban that is enforced for demonstrations on campus.
We believe that we have followed the demonstration policy very carefully and very closely, and we have worked with the administration, and having seen these extra rules being implemented because of our protests last semester, we feel that there's not really like an effort being made to have our voices represented, and so we just want to look for a compromise and a common ground with administration, and we hope to meet with them soon to find that common ground, and that's it.
Another student, Mia Glover, said that they were glad Hofstra hosted a town hall to allow people to voice their perspectives and opinions, but wished there were more frequent gatherings.
I do think this is a good idea, like the town hall meetings, because people can come with their concerns and have questions answered. I do think that there should be a more like in-depth way of doing it more frequently, because there are multiple, especially now with the election and the result, there's definitely some turmoil in the atmosphere right now, and I feel like everyone's kind of felt that, and I just feel like what we're talking about should be taken seriously and talked about more often.
Quinlan Davis, a student leader in Black, hopes that further development will occur with ongoing racism amidst the student body and faculty.
During this town hall, it's been mentioned a bunch of times, a lot of discrimination throughout faculty, student body, and one of the biggest issues is that we do hear that it's being handled, but we don't see the solutions. We don't see the outcome, which I understand, and I think all of us understand that it's not necessarily plausible, but it would be nice to know that something is happening.
And Favor Chibuzo Onweir said they wanted Hofstra to be more transparent in the work they're doing to combat issues that students have presented.
I think when administration said that the theme of today's meeting was the fact that students are not coming forward with their complaints, I think that was a complete misread of the theme of today's town hall. I truly believe the theme is the fact that students are in fact reporting, but nothing is happening with those reports. I think time and time again, you can tell that the students who attended the town hall aren't students who are divorced from any type of like activism or taking initiative on campus. These are students that really know the ins and outs of how to get your problems addressed at Hofstra.
Suffice to say, Hofstra's administration has done a good amount of work to benefit the community, but its students still have much they want to see addressed in the coming years.
Almost 70 license plate reading cameras have been installed by the Nassau County Police Department as the department works to improve their methods in catching wanted suspects. The cameras have been installed to black poles and have solar panels. Data is then sent to a cloud where officers can work to determine if a certain plate belongs to a suspect and share that information with other agencies across the region and the country. Crimes the technology is expected to assist with include burglaries, homicides, and stolen cars. Officers can also receive assistance when it comes to emergency calls and how to determine the severity of an accident.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul's request for disaster funds from the August summer storms that has hit Suffolk County has been denied by FEMA. The agency believes the damages were not substantial enough, much to the dismay of many Suffolk County residents. The storms caused flooding and damaged roads that cost millions of dollars in repairs. Earlier this year, FEMA did approve a deal for Suffolk County to help with the rebuild of their infrastructure, but homes are not included. Hochul is planning to appeal the ruling.
The number of homeless students in New York City has reached a new high, according to new data. In the 2023 to 2024 academic years, city schools found around 146,000 students in the public school are homeless, a 22% increase from 119,320 in the prior year. The number is believed by many to have risen due to the influx of migrant families coming to the city of New York. Education Department spokesperson Cheyenne Toll stated, quote, "Our students who are experiencing homelessness are among our most vulnerable, and it is continued priority at New York City Public Schools to provide them with the support and resources they need to succeed in school."
Coming up, your Newsline Entertainment Update with Ricky Hubert and your Newsline Sports Beat with Juliana Monti. But first, your Newsline Traffic Update with Jackson Warren. WRHU News Time is 5:53.
Newsline traffic.
If you're traveling towards JFK or LaGuardia today, look out for these delays. As of right now, there is no destination delay for both airports. For departure and arrival delay, both airports are expecting a delay of 15 minutes or less. If you're heading towards the LIRR today, there is one delay. As of today through November 22nd, there will be no eastbound service from Forest Hill to Kew Gardens due to maintenance on the track. The maintenance starts at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. For the rest of the trains, they're running on time, so don't be late. For your traffic update, on I-78 westbound, there's a car crash that is blocking just after exit 71. Expect a 20-minute delay. That is all the traffic and weather updates for now. I'm Jackson Warren.
Newsline entertainment.
New York City politicians are calling on Whoopi Goldberg to apologize after she alluded that a Staten Island bakery refused to serve her on her birthday due to Goldberg's political beliefs. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella said that Goldberg, quote, besmirched and defamed the bakery by, quote, making stuff up to fill their needs. Vasella added, quote, a good business person doesn't care about anybody's politics. Vasella added that the bakery's decades-old boiler was malfunctioning, and therefore the establishment did not want to take an order it could not fulfill. Quote, just say you're sorry so we can put this behind us. Lawyers for Sean Diddy Combs accused prosecutors on Monday of engaging in, quote, outrageous government conduct by using material seized from his jail cell to try to keep him incarcerated before he made trial. They said that information gathered in a raid on Combs' cell at the Metropolitan Detention Center were cited in papers that the government had filed in Manhattan federal court on Friday in an effort to keep Combs incarcerated ahead of his May 5th trial. The 55-year-old Combs had been in contempt since September after he was arrested on charges that he abused women for years with the aid of network associates and employees. With your Newsline Entertainment Report, I'm Ricky Hubert, WRHU.
From the Philip Cavallero Sports Desk, this is your Newsline Sports Update.
With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Juliana Monti. The Islanders are coming off a 3-2 loss to the Seattle Kraken and are back in action to contest the Calgary Flames tomorrow. In the Seattle Kraken game, in the Calgary game tomorrow, Ilya Sorokin will try to notch his 100th career victory. Hofstra men's basketball is coming off a 75-71 overtime win against UMass Amherst. Cruz Davis led the Pride with 21 points to keep the team a perfect 4-0. Hofstra travels south to play Florida State tomorrow. The Pride is 1-3 all-time against the Seminoles, but the last time they contested, Hofstra came out on top with an 82-77 victory. Kevin Bunk and Dylan Brett will have the call in 88 on the Hawk tomorrow at 7 p.m. Hofstra men's soccer has clinched the NCAA tournament with a 7-seed bid. They'll take on either Iona or Vermont as the 7th seed at home on Sunday at 5 p.m. They took home the CAA trophy for the fourth consecutive time on this past weekend with a 1-0 win to UNCW. In an attempt to turn their season around, the New York Giants are expected to name Tommy DeVito their starting quarterback over the past 2 seasons. Daniel Jones is 3-13 in 16 starts and has had 3 more interceptions than touchdown passes. The Big Blue are 2-8 and hasn't won a game since October 6th. With your Newsline Sports Update, I'm Juliana Monti.
That will do it for tonight's edition of Newsline. Many thanks to the entire WRHU news team. Engineering our show this evening is the Polar Parker Driscoll.
Thank you for tuning into Newsline, only here on your 4-time Marconi Award-winning radio station, 88.7 FM, Radio Hofstra University.
Access real-time, local Long Island, New York, and global news, along with content from WRHU Talent Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 6 p.m.
And tune back in from 7 to 9 Monday through Friday mornings for our talk show, where we discuss Long Island life, national news, and international issues from the minds and mouths of Hofstra students on the morning wake-up call.
Lastly, check us out on social media at WRHU News for behind-the-scenes content.
For Newsline, I'm Matt Fisher.
And I'm Cameron Bowden.
Thank you for listening.
And have a positively wonderful night, Long Island. Bundle up out there.